Hi students, this is your English teacher. Today we are going to learn the difference between phrase and a clause, because we're going to learn transformation of sentences, simple, complex and compound. So for that we need to have a basic understanding of what a phrase is and what a clause is. Phrase is a group of words without subject and verb combination. So, what is phrase? Phrase is a group of words. It is a group of words, but you can't find a subject or a verb. Definitely, there won't be any verb. I mean, finite verb. So, what is a clause? Clause is also a group of words. Phrase is a group of words, clause is also a group of words, but what is the only difference? But with subject and verb combination. So a verb will be there in a clause. So hope you understand the difference. Phrase, group of words without a verb. Clause is also a group of words with a finite verb. Okay, let's move on. Examples of phrase and clause. See, the first one, near the garden. Near the garden. So you can't find any subject and verb there. So near the garden is a group of words, which means it is a phrase. Look at the second sentence. Sheila won the prize. You can find out the first word Sheila is a subject and the second word won is a verb. So this group of words have a subject and verb combination and it is a clause. I'm just giving you the example of a phrase and a clause. Okay, so I've given you some 7 group of words which you need to identify and send it to me. Okay, in a sad mood. Is it a phrase or a clause? Do you find any verb there? So look at the example B. She took my pen. She took my pen. Do you find any verb? If you find a verb, what it is? Third one, to the shore. John gave me this. Next one is at the boundary. Next one, near the park. The last one is they were playing in the garden. Okay, I hope you can easily find out the phrase from the clause. Okay, let's move on. Clause is of 2 types. Clause. So forget about the phrase. Phrase, we come to know that it's a group of words without verb combination. But clause is of 2 types. What is that first type? Independent clause. That clause can be called as an independent clause, main clause, or it has also a name called principal clause. Independent, the word independent means it can stand by itself. That's why I have said here it can be a sentence and it can stand by itself. Look at the right hand side, dependent clause or subordinate clause. So this group of words, though it has a verb and subject combination, it cannot give complete meaning, or it cannot stand by neither it can stand by itself. Okay, dependent clause can neither have a complete meaning nor it can stand by itself. Okay, that's why I've given you cannot be a sentence, hence it can't stand by itself. It has to depend on the main clause. For example, when Ram got home, when Ram got home, he met Sheila. So in the first group of words, when Ram got home, even in this group of words, you have a subject, you have a verb. But when you read that and find out whether it gives complete meaning or complete sense, when Ram got home, yes, sir, tell me, when Ram got home, what happened? Because the meaning is incomplete. Though it has a subject and verb, the meaning is incomplete. It has to depend on the main clause. That is why this group of words is called as a subordinate clause or dependent clause. Okay, here in the right hand side I've given you both have subject and verb combination, but they differ. In what way it differs? Dependent clause, it will depend for its complete meaning. Once again, dependent clause, it has to depend on the main clause for its complete meaning, but independent clause, it can stand by itself. Okay, if you look at this, when, while, whenever, before, after, because, if, unless, no, uh, these are the words or conjunctions used in dependent clause. For example, when Ram got home, you can see the word, those conjunctions are called as subordinate conjunctions. When, you can find there when, while, whenever, before, after, because, if, unless, and etc. Okay, classes of two types, don't forget. Clauses of two types, one is independent clause, the other one is dependent clause. Both have subject and verb combination, but they differ in one thing. Independent clause can stand by itself and give a complete meaning, but dependent clause cannot stand by itself, but it has some meaning. For the complete meaning, it has to depend on the main clause. Let's move on to the next. Say whether each of the following is a phrase or a clause. Okay, very easy. Okay. In the garden, you have to identify whether it is a phrase or a clause. Okay. So when I'm going to give you the answer, please make note of it, and you try to pause the video and try to give the answer. In the garden, what it is it a phrase? Find out whether there is a verb subject combination. If it is no, if there is no verb, it should be a phrase. Look at the second sentence. While Charlie was reading the newspaper. So subject is there, was reading is there. So it is definitely not a phrase, it is a clause. So you can say it is a clause, but if you can give me the answer, like whether it is dependent clause or independent clause, you have a good credit. I appreciate that. So while Charlie was reading the newspaper, can you find out, is there any complete meaning? When Charlie was reading the newspaper, it is a clause, but it does not have a complete meaning. So it is a dependent clause. So likewise, you just check. Dorothy works at a restaurant. The big green box. We don't live in Dallas anymore. Extremely hungry right now. Had been waiting. If you see Mr. Sullivan tomorrow, slowly and steadily, whenever I play a video game, it reminds me of my childhood. Okay, in the last sentence, you need to be very careful because there are two clauses. Okay, you have to identify which part is dependent clause and which part is independent clause. Okay, did you try? Okay, I'll give you the answer once you check. Okay, so some additional information may be there, so just neglect the preposition and all those things. The first one, in the garden, is a phrase because there is no verb. The second one is a clause. It is a dependent clause. The third one, it is a clause because it has subject and verb, but it can stand by itself, so it is an independent clause. The big green box, it is a group of words without any verb or subject, so it is a phrase. So forget about that noun phrase and all those things. We didn't go in detail. I thought of that, but it is not necessary for right now. Okay, we don't live in Dallas anymore. It is a clause. This sentence can stand by itself, so it is independent clause, which also can be called as a principal clause or a main clause. Okay, the next one. Extremely hungry right now. It's a group of words without verb. It's a phrase. Had been waiting. Had been waiting is a verb, but it is a phrase. Okay, it's a phrase because just a verb cannot give a complete sense. The next one, if you see Mr. Sullivan tomorrow, it is a clause, but it does not give a complete meaning. So it is a dependent clause. Slowly and steadily. This is a phrase. And the last one, whenever I play a video game, the first part is dependent clause. It reminds me of my childhood. This part gives complete meaning and it is an independent clause. Okay? Hope you understand this very well. Okay, children. Now we are going to learn what is a simple sentence, what is a complex sentence, and what is a compound sentence. Okay, transformation we will do in the next class. Okay, just we will come to know what is a simple sentence. There are three types of sentences. Okay, first one is simple sentence, the next one is compound sentence, and the third one is a complex sentence. First of all, we'll see what is a simple sentence. It is a sentence with a subject and a verb, with or without a phrase. Look at the first example. She is a student. You have to identify the subject. Subject is in red color. Yeah? And verb is in pink one. Okay, she is the subject and verb, the be form, that is. Okay, in the second sentence, identify the subject and verb. I is the subject and played is the verb. So a simple sentence as an independent clause. It has a complete meaning. So it can be called as a main clause or a principal clause. Okay, we'll slowly learn. No, I am just teaching you from the basic. So in the next slide, you are going to identify the subject and the verb in the following simple sentences. Look at this sentence. The round ball hit the mirror. Which is the subject and which is the verb? He has been waiting for him. I am a doctor. The President of America visits India today. She will have been working out this project by tomorrow evening. So identify the subject and the verb. So everything is in this color. Okay, I hope you must have finished after pausing it for some time. No, you just pause it for some time and then finish. Okay, let's check the answer. The round ball hit the mirror. The round ball is the subject, hit is the verb. He is the subject, has been waiting is the verb. I is the subject, am is the verb. The President of America is the subject, visits is the verb. She is the subject, will have been working out is the verb. I believe that you got all the answers correct. It is very simple, right? Okay, next we'll move on to know what is a compound sentence. A compound sentence has two independent clauses. Compound sentences. A compound sentence has two or more independent clauses. Okay. So some say there should be a comma there after the first independent clause before adding a conjunction. See, I am a teacher, my wife is a lawyer. Two simple sentences are connected with a conjunction and. I am a teacher and my wife is a lawyer. So two simple sentences are connected with a conjunction to make it a compound sentence. So a compound sentence has two independent clauses. Independent clauses means what? A clause which has a subject and verb and a complete sense. Okay, I am a teacher. It has a complete sense. My wife is a lawyer. It has a complete sense. But it is connected by a conjunction to form a compound sentence. So a compound sentence has two independent clauses connected to a coordinating conjunction. Look at the second sentence. She tried to lift the suitcase. It was too heavy. So when we connect, what is the coordinating conjunction that we use? She tried to lift the suitcase, but it was too heavy. Third sentence. He did not have enough cash. He paid by credit card. Two simple sentences are connected with a suitable conjunction. He did not have enough cash. So he paid by credit card. There you can't use but, or there you can't use any other conjunctions. So sometimes one or two conjunctions may suit the sentence. Okay. So, but it should not go wrong without any senseless meaning. Okay, we can take a bus to the museum or we can just walk there. So two independent clauses are connected with a conjunction. So what are the conjunctions here? And, but, so, or. So words like and, but, or, so are called coordinating conjunctions. So in the next slide, what you're going to see, combine each set of simple sentences into a compound sentence. Using what conjunctions? Coordinating conjunctions. Okay, he hit the ball, one independent clause, it reached the boundary. So two independent clauses are there. So you're going to connect and make it a compound sentence, but you have to use a suitable conjunction. Got it? Did you try? Okay, let's move on. I'm not very hungry. I will have biryani. So which conjunction would be suitable there? He worked very hard. He failed. He practiced daily. He won the match. We would like to buy a car. We cannot afford one right now. Did you try? Only 5 sentences. Did you try to connect these two simple sentences or independent clauses to form a compound sentence using a right conjunction? Check your answer. He hit the ball and it reached the boundary. I am not very hungry, or I will have biryani. He worked very hard, but he failed. He practiced daily, so he won the match. We would like to buy a car, but we cannot afford one right now. So the conjunctions and, or, but, so, but again, these are the coordinating conjunctions connecting these two independent clauses to form a compound sentence. So you can easily say a compound sentence should have at least two independent clauses connected to a coordinating conjunction. Okay, this day's lesson is just understanding the basic. Okay, in the next class we will find out how to transform from one form to another form. Okay, we will just check what is a complex sentence. A complex sentence has a dependent clause. Dependent clause means what? It has a subject, it has a verb, but it brings incomplete meaning. That is why it has to depend on the main clause. That is why it is called as dependent clause. So a complex sentence has two different clauses. See, one dependent clause and another, the second one is independent clause. So I have given you an example. When I got home from work yesterday, I watched TV for an hour. Okay, so which is the independent clause? The second part. I watched TV for an hour. Subject is there, watched, verb is there. It gives complete meaning and it can stand by itself. That is why it is an independent clause. But look at the first part. When I got home from work yesterday, Though it has a subject I, though it has a verb got, still the meaning is incomplete. That is why it is called as a subordinate clause or a dependent clause. The dependent clause alone cannot stand by itself and give meaning. Just try. When I got home from work yesterday, you will say, what happened? What happened? So it has to depend on the independent clause. What happened? I watched TV for an hour. Now, the two ideas give meaning for the sentence. So, complex sentence is what? It has a dependent clause and also an independent clause. Okay. Now, identify the dependent and independent clause. I took leave because I was not feeling well. In this sentence, which part gives complete meaning and which part gives incomplete meaning? In the second sentence, even though it was a tough one, he made it. Which part gives complete meaning and which is independent clause and which is dependent clause? It's very easy, right? If I were an angel, I would fly. So which part has complete meaning? It's very simple, right? As soon as she saw the dog, she ran away. Which part gives the complete meaning? While I was driving, I met him. Which part, which idea, the second idea or the first idea? Which idea gives the complete meaning? Okay, let's check the answers. I took leave. That gives the complete sense. So that is the independent clause, and the next part is the dependent clause. Even though it was a tough one, he made it. The second part is the independent clause and the first part is the dependent clause. If I were an angel, I would fly. The second part is the independent clause and the first part is the main clause. As soon as she saw the dog, she ran away. The second part is the independent clause and the first part is the dependent clause. While I was driving, I met him. So you might think, look at the first sentence, main clause comes, that means independent clause comes in the beginning. No problem, it can be anywhere. But one dependent clause and the second independent clause, if two are there, it is a complex sentence. And the conjunctions are called as subordinating conjunctions. It is a subordinate clause because I was not feeling well, even though it was a tough one. If I were an angel, as soon as she saw the dog, while I was driving. These are all subordinate clause and it is connected with, it has the linker subordinate conjunctions like when, as soon as, after, because, since, if, while, though, even though, etc. So hope you understand today's lesson. You copy down everything in your classwork and send the pic of all the notes. In the next class, we will find out how to transform a simple sentence into complex and compound sentence. Okay, today is a very simple topic, just the basic thing of how to understand a phrase and how to understand a clause, how to find difference between them, and what is a clause and how many types of clauses, and what is a dependent clause and what is an independent clause. And by understanding this phrase, dependent clause and independent clause, we can come to know what is a simple sentence, what is a compound sentence, and what is a complex sentence. So you need to write everything in your classwork and take a pic of that and send it to me. Thank you.